Alright, greetings everybody, and welcome to the first of the many Final Fantasy V videos that we will be having, as well as everything else. Now, of course, as always, I would just ask that people be patient. I know that there's going to be a lot of stuff that people want to know about. I'm going to try and get through it in due time today. However, I do want to get one more Final Fantasy video up because I am doing really well at getting a Final Fantasy video up per day until Christmas. That was not the intention, but it seems to be the way things are going. I mean, you're getting like an original FF7 PSX playthrough and a Final Fantasy 12 playthrough. You guys should be just showering me with likes or dislikes. I don't really care. Engagement is engagement. But here we are. We're here to talk about Gilgamesh first today, and this is our building video. Now, I haven't looked at him a ton yet, so we're going to be looking at him together. But first and foremost, I got him. That's right. And I got him on my first pull, so I'm just going to do a little bit of a humble brag because I am going to suffer extensively for the character I actually wanted, which is X-Death. And no, this does not count as using my luck up for this because that's not how that works. It just means that this is the character I was getting lucky for, and X-Death probably I'm going to be unlucky for. So talking about Gilgamesh, he's an interesting little bugger, to say the least. Let's actually look at his model because we don't always get to do this. He looks pretty cool. I do like classic Gilgamesh a lot. He's got that little hop to him. It's Gilgamesh through and through, so shout outs to them doing good. And the artwork also looks pretty cool. We'll show the limit burst a little bit later. He is a 3-move, 2-jump, 100 cost fire elemental character. And, he is looking to be quite good with a brand new spear job, Hydragoon to back up that spear job, and Strider as a backup for another sub-job option. So overall, I'm pretty happy with that. Thrust Mastery is also particularly pretty interesting. It's Human Killer up by 25 for 4 turns, which is a good increase in damage for a physical attacker. But also, it does come with reducing physical damage taken by 25% for 4 turns. So it's not a conditional be removed after a certain amount, just a damage down. It's critical evasion, it's defense, and HP on a piece of armor. Not sure if it'll be incredibly highly valued because it doesn't seem like human killer ones are never the thing that are particularly overly valued. But you never know. We'll keep an eye on it. Either way, I have it, so I guess I will be testing it to some extent. But yeah, let's go on and talk about Master Ability, which is AoE resistance up by 15, critical evasions up by 20. Dream Ability is reaction block, fire attack, and critical damage. 40, 10, and 10 for each of those. It's interesting to say the least, and if we take a look at the board, we have some agility nodes, and just because, you know, we can this time, we are looking at an HP up node as being his big upgrade one. And there is a little bit of speed in here too. 4 speed points are locked behind his EX, and that might be important. We can also get a brief look at some of the abilities that are upgraded into EX. But let's jump over excuse me, into the friend unit, because the friend unit is always an important evaluation of how a character generally looks, and there he is. Hermes Handles is present, but what we can note, actually I think his HP is quite high already. Now Sephiroth, which is fully built, 16k with fully reincarnated versus 14k without fully reincarnated. Pretty good amount there, and slightly potentially lower attack than you would see on some attackers that are available. However, spear type damage is a pretty big blind spot. Ramada has been doing fairly well on her own in the thunder element and in different party compositions. So I wonder if her being matched with a character like this will push her even higher and beyond, and potentially bring spears into being quite relevant again. I would also say that it's quite a neat combination to go this guy plus Ramada plus Volk. That seems like a potentially really strong composition. As last year, earlier in the year, spears were doing quite well with multi-element, and this more synergistic team might actually just be enough to get there. But hypothetically, accuracy up by 30, not super amazing. Evasion is not there. His speed is good, considering that, we have the Hermes sandals on. And 22 and 51 is pretty nice. If we just look over at Sephiroth is 120, so he is higher, but he does have Trust Mastery runes pushing that higher as well. And 37, 34, you can get an idea for where his stats are relatively to other characters. Now, talking about just everything, starting off with the supports. His main two supports, first one is upgrading EX 24% attack, defense penetration of 40, debuff effect weakening of 20, and AoE resistance penetration. The very offensive, going to kill you kind of thing. And to that point, it's very focused. The other ability that he has, increase slash attack, pierce attack, and AoE resistance, which is, how do I say this? Pretty interesting in terms of that. But in his main kit, he actually does have some slash attack and some piercing attack abilities in there. So there is a reason why this is being supported. Whether this is super good, AoE resistance at 12 and 2 damage types at 12, can contemplate that versus higher Dragoon with a 24% attack increase in defense penetration or agility increase and strike resistance. Almost always I'd want to choose that agility increase, but potentially that just higher attack might be interesting as well. But the Strider does come with a higher accuracy as well as defense penetration, so there's a lot of good options for support, and I think you can customize Gilgamesh to how you like. I'm not super crazy about his own main one. This one with the 2 damage types I feel like could be replaced quite easily, and just cutting out the slash attack for, more spear focused damage, which is kind of seems to be his general focus anyway. Let's go with that. And certainly the accuracy boost here and the attack or agility increase all seem way more viable. Now, as for counters, well, we do have a counter on Hydrogoon, which is piercing damage and is very short range. His main one that we're looking at here, much better range on it. Counters slash and piercing damage with a 70% chance of just dealing damage. Slash, very useful, not super good against mages, which is concerning, because that is a pretty big meta share right now. And shooting. The other one, Strider, chance to counter all damage with reducing damage? That might actually be more interesting me than this one. This seems way too conditional and assuming that Pierce is going to be meta, which, you have to prove it first. So I'm not super crazy about this. Maybe I like the Strider or Battle Axe, whatever it's called, on global counter a little bit better because it does offer survivability. Now, Limit Burst, break physical barrier, decrease single target resistance by 30, grants him haste, protect, and shell for 3 turns apiece. Limit Burst upgrade is 100% advised for this character. And then we get into sub-jobs. Now, the 2 abilities you're going to give up. This one, short range, decrease defense by a factor of 60 for 3 turns, 185 mod. Has casting time on it, so I absolutely despise this ability. I just don't really like casting time, and getting the 60 shred off of it is a little bit concerning. It feels like an old Dragoon style ability, so I don't like it. This one, 25% chance to paralyze. I just don't think this is very likely, so probably we can cut this sub job for something else. Hydrogoon does give HP absorb, chance to inflict stun, and decreasing pierce resistance, which are all more usable. But again, we do have casting time on some of those abilities, which might be a problem. The one other thing Hydrogoon really has going for it are its buffs, which a move +1 and an agility increase, or an attack, defense, and protect increase. So that might be enough of a reason. But Hydrogoon probably synergizes with his main kit more. As for Strider, Strider does have the attack and spirit increase, which he doesn't seem that good against mages anyway. Slow, which again I don't feel super high chance of activating. Breaking physical barriers, which might actually be useful, but it's too short of a range of an ability to probably be that good. So overall, I think I'm probably going to pick personally High Dragoon. Seems like it's the best, most synergistic with his kit. And with that being said, before we get into his main kit, let's just check his spear. We do have a 15 attack up ability on the weapon directly. If we look at the other stuff here, it does look like we have some critical damage up, AEP consumption down, and resistance penetration for AoE attack. So they are trying to essentially make up for casting time with dealing a bunch of damage that this character is capable of doing. So let's see if the main part of his kit completes what we kind of need to have. So first off, this ability, piercing damage, nice. Casts an ability when a target is killed for self. And that ability, just checking really quickly, increases the amount of HP restored, which, cool. An HP restoral for killing a target, not bad. Next ability, 200% chance to ignore fatal damage for himself. Survivability right there. When casting another attack will also launch the following skill for 4 turns. Oyuchi is what I believe it is. This is interesting because this secondary attack does have an effect on it to decrease single target resistance by a factor of 50 for the one cast. So it is dealing a bunch of extra, or it is dealing probably pretty good damage off of it, but basically follow-up attack on this guy. Grants the effect also for self of negative 15% pierce resistance for 4 turns, increases missile resistance by 25% for 4 turns, and an AoE resistance of 25 for 4 turns. So a nice buff for himself that also gives him a follow-up attack, and generally that should be pretty positive. All right, our next ability. This buff does get increased into EX. Reduce the damage taken by 50% for 4 times for self. Increase debuff effect weakening by 30 for 4 turns for allies. Grants also the effect of decreasing debuff effect weakening by 30 for 4 turns for allies when an attack hits. And grants the effect for allies of ignore if someone tries to dispel fatal damage for 4 turns. So basically you can protect that Guts immortal spirit survive a fatal damage hit with Gilgamesh's ability. Restores 20 AP for himself and casts a condition for another effect that basically when his HP drops below 50%, he gets a 40% HP restoral, which given his high HP seems really nice. But a lot of stuff on an ability that has 2 uses. Good. Now this ability is classified as I do believe, a slash attack type. Decreases attack by a factor of 60 for this one cast, 200% mod. Increased hit chance and a extremely high critical chance on it. Decreases healing power by a factor of 40 for 3 turns. And a chance to inflict poison at 50% for self, which is quite nice. I have to say, even if I'm not super crazy about this being a slash damage, it does have enough effects on it that it's probably good. And the poison has a pretty high chance of proccing. So I find this really interesting as an ability. Maybe I take it back. Maybe we don't get rid of that. Next, Big Diamond AoE, dispel ignored fatal damage for targets. 200% mod, 200% chance for magical damage reduction of 20% for 3 turns. And increase AoE resistance penetration of 30 for 3 turns. Gilgamesh, in that sense, pretty interesting for supporting a bunch of characters. And our last one, job level 25. Reduce physical damage taken, increase buffs for targets. It does have casting time apparently on this ability. However, So it is a little annoying. It is an AoE, but we are getting some stuff done here. It's a 220 mod, so it is pretty good. But increasing, reducing the physical damage taken increase buff is kind of interesting for a offensive character, and I don't think we've seen this too much. I can't think of any specific times where I've seen this, so maybe it's okay. Gilgamesh is a weird character to evaluate, so pretty much perfectly on brand. He does have a lot of benefits for himself, a lot of negatives for enemies, but it's all helter-skelter and all over the place, as you would expect. Him supporting 2 damage types is also a little bit weird, but a little bit spicy. As such, personally, I think that the major place, the best place that we are going to see this character is on a all-spear team, where you're going to be seeing him plus Ramada plus one other character of some variety, depending on whether you are cost limited or not. And I think that this will be the just ipso facto absolutely best spear-based team in the game. That doesn't feel like too much of a stretch to make. What I am interested in is whether there are any really weird possibilities for this character to truly excel, because there is some stuff here that, like, I just wish he didn't have casting time, or a way of effectively reducing casting time, because right now it does feel like it's a little bit more problematic than it probably is worth. Excuse me. And that kind of brings me to talking about vision cards and vision card overlap, because Spear is not shy recently of getting support in different stuff. The Halloween VC recently has had support for it. The Venera card recently, which was considered extremely good, also has seen it. As Told by the Stars, Gales of the Havoc with Garuda, To the Lifestream, Remaining Blessings, and the new Gilgamesh card all support various spear type characters. If we were looking at some of the more interesting things happening, well, guns are kind of interesting right now, but there's very little crossover here with guns and spears, so you're probably not doing that. The other one that is probably more reliable might be just katanas, since katanas have effectively had some of the most support this entire year and are almost on every single VC in the latter half of the year. So like him and Sephiroth feels like also a natural good fit, but I don't think that Sephiroth is probably the answer. I do think that it is spears all the way forward, straight to the point, if you will. Now, that is my initial look at Gilgamesh. We'll have to be testing him, but with so much in the way of updates today, I'll get to it as soon as I can get to it. Thanks so much for watching. Take care. See you later.